Hello and welcome back to the channel and another video about the construction, of course, of Heaton Lodge Junction Phase 2. So what's been going on this week? Well, I had a day out. I actually took my friend and helper James, who we went to the Mayog exhibition at Crewe Modern Image O-Gauge, for those of you that don't know. And yeah, a really good day out it was as well. There was some nice people there. I haven't seen a few people there for ages. Picked up some goodies, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Saw the Class 40 start up, which was parked outside. And yeah, great day out. Really enjoyed it. Well done to all of you that actually organised it. So what else have we got today? I've got a list here. Been down to see Dave Lowry, and he's finished a couple of the Mark III Virgin coaches that go with the HST set. So I'm going to be going through those with you. We're going to look at drainage ditches, which is something we haven't touched on before. Drainage ditches, often found in marshalling yards. Some of you might have seen when you drive past on the motorway service stations, those of them that are relatively new kind of always have these man-made lakes nearby. And marshalling yards were much the same back in the 50s and 60s when they were being built, apart from they had a lot more kind of cruder affairs. And Healy Mills was no different. There was all sorts of ditches and streams running through the middle of it. And I'm just going to show you what I've been doing and a bit of a how-to on drainage ditches. What else have we got? Yes, new building. James has come up with a great idea for a new building near the concrete factory, which incidentally we've not talked about for quite some time. The concrete factory is coming together now. Tim's just got one more building to construct, which is the kiln tower. And then it's all going to come together very fast because all the woodwork is down here ready to be assembled for all the different buildings in the concrete factory. So we're going to be talking about that too. So without further ado, let's crack on with the video. Right, let's pick up at the concrete factory. Now, we've not talked about the concrete factory for quite some time, and those of you that have joined the channel recently, just to put you in the picture with this, I basically nicked the idea of the concrete factory from Miniature Wonderland, that enormous model railway in Hamburg in Germany. And so therefore I just thought it'd make a fantastic feature. So basically I have finished laying out the track. This is all going to be concrete hard standing, but the buildings are still waiting to be assembled. That is apart from these two here, which we featured in this video, or these videos rather, quite a few times. Just move this out of the way. So we've got the garages for the cement mixers, and we've also got the tower above it, which are both awaiting painting, of course. They're all lit. The rooms are individually lit on the inside. All the walkways and all the pipes and stuff that's going to be fitted to the side of these they've all been done. They're just in the shelves over at the other side awaiting to be fixed. But at this side here, we're going to have a couple of buildings. It's popping up on your screen now, which ones are going to be here. And there's also the storm drain, which I'm running under the tracks just to, again, introduce a little bit of kind of entertainment, a bit of a variety. That's going to be quite a wide storm drain filled with casting resin. another building here, and then at this side there's going to be another building too, plus the silos which Tim Horn from Tim Horn Baseboards has already made. They're awaiting to be stuck onto the top, and they're going to go almost right to the ceiling with a huge blue circle cement banner or kind of sign on the side. Anyway, the reason we're talking about the concrete factory is because I discovered a few weeks ago that I was going to have about 15 or 20 foot. You can just see these bare boards. And I was wondering, what the heck am I going to put here? I had to put something here because all the storage sidings, I'll just walk down a little bit further. You can see what I'm talking around. It's a bit of a mess. Sorry about that. But the storage sidings and Healy mills are a bit further on. But again, between those and the concrete factory down there, which itself is about 20 foot long, I had another 15 or 20 foot, which I've kind of been wondering in the back of my mind what to put here. James, my helper, came up with a perfect idea, which some of you might not agree with. I thought about it and then thought it was absolutely brilliant. Now, recently, I went to Shildon Museum to the exhibition, and James was there as well, and he said, why don't you build a museum, basically a train museum based on Shildon in this space? Because what that will do is that will give us a bit of track to run up and down a small tank engine, steam loco, which kids can interact with. And don't forget, you must remember that this side of the layout, phase 2, is all about entertainment. Yes, it's going to be really well detailed, but it is also about providing entertainment, especially for families. So what we thought we'd do is put a steam loco, Ginty or what have you, that's going to run up and down here. Might even be Thomas the Tank Engine. I can almost hear some of your gasps of horror. And we're also going to have 4 of the Railway Laser Lines diesel traction depots together, which are going to be here. James has drawn it all out, as you can see. 4 roads, 4 railway lines through the 4 sheds. Out of the back is going to be a load of hard standing. There's going to be a museum, shop and entrance, and loads of car parking for the staff and also for the public. This will all be really well fenced off with the Buzz Models chain link fencing or the Railway Laser Lines fencing, so it doesn't get in the way of the concrete factory, which is going to be very busy with 66ers coming and going, with PCA tank wagons and what have you. But you can see basically how this is going to turn out. It's going to be really, really good fun. This is actually part of the concrete factory. The fence is going to be down here, and then, as I said before, the car park is going to be here. There's also going to be a road which takes the cement wagons out of the concrete factory and down another longer road out towards Healy Mills. But anyway, I'm digressing. This is the main reason for showing you this clip, and it's just going to be the Railway Museum, which I think with the 4 sheds by Railway Laser Lines together is going to look superb. The other thing it does is it gives us the ideal excuse for me to show off the 55H model Evening Star, which I love that loco. And there'll also be some more steam locos inside, some rolling stock under repair, all sorts of things. And you can see the track work that James has already drawn out, which is going to run all the way down here. We've got an office admin building, some maintenance vehicle, car parks, a signal box. So yeah, it's going to be very loosely based on Shildon. And I just think it'll make a really interesting exhibit for those people that just want to play around with some trains. It'll have its own control unit at this side. So again, kids or families can have a little go at controlling trains. So I just thought that will be really good. So the sheds are already on order. They'll get built by Stuart Hilton from stubby47.com because I just haven't got the time. And once they arrive, they'll all be assembled, and then I'll work out a way to do the hard standing, which I'll share with you on one of these videos. So there we go. Just to put it in perspective, that is the HS3 station. You can see the walkways and the lift shafts there, and of course the concrete flyover a bit further down. So yeah, don't know what you think. I'd appreciate your comments about the museum or the forthcoming railway museum in the YouTube comments. Always read them on a Saturday morning, as I said last week. So yeah, there we go. Okay, so I thought I'd do a little clip of what has landed on the railway this week. And in fact, on Sunday, as I mentioned, I went to the Mayog exhibition in Crewe and picked up quite a few things, and my credit card has been smarting since. But anyway, this is one of the two snowplows I picked up from the Flangeways stand, and do you know what? This is going to look great, or these are going to look great at the end of 237s or 256s or what have you. And if I can get it out the box, because it's quite tight inside, I'll give you a better look. I think the history of these is they were made in the 60s, 1965, I think, from the chassis of the old brake tenders. And they were still around when Network Rail came about in the early 2000s or the mid 2000s, and these are pretty exquisite. Once weathered, they're going to look absolutely superb, and given that Heaton Lodge phase 1 and 2 is set in the autumn and winter, they're particularly apt for this layout. So as I said, these are going to look great at either end of one loco or maybe two 37s, just slowly making their way through the marshalling yard and onto the main line. So yeah, this was £99 from what I remember, but I think it's good value, and yeah, available from Flangeway. So there we go. There's some little bits that you can add on inside as well, and yeah, really pleased with that. I probably wouldn't have bought that had I not seen it in the flesh. It just shows, doesn't it, when you go to exhibitions, you end up spending far more than what you expect to do. Now, moving on to this. This, of course, is one of the first coaches from Dave Lowry, who's been busy making this for the first HST Virgin train set. He's going to be making 2 of these a month, he tells me, so he's got his work cut out with all the other work that he does as well. These have all got electric lighting inside. It's built, I think, from a Skytrex kit, and Dave does a few modifications himself, including the electric lighting inside, and I think they've even got capacitors inside as well, so if the electric goes off, the lights stay on. So yeah, he's going to be dropping me off 2 of these a month, so we should have a full rake of the coaches by, I don't know, spring next year at least. And then he's going to move on to the GNER set, which we've talked about in the past, but that is absolutely lovely. I'm probably going to give it a little touch of weathering on the roof and on the bogies, but not much else, because Virgin, from what I remember, used to keep their coaches pretty much very, very clean. So great job there, Dave. Thank you very much. The other thing I picked up at the show was this from the Made in Manchester stand, which again, always come in useful, things like this. These are great for marshalling yards, just a couple of porter cabins. And the other thing I bought is this, which I'm going to use on the concrete factory, or near enough the concrete factory, which is very substantial. It's even too big to go in the camera, so I'll tilt it this way, but you can see how big it is, and this is going to look great. So once it's had a bit of rusty weathering on it, that will look superb. Incidentally, the castle in the background, we discussed that the other week, didn't we? That, all of you who mentioned a hotel. Thanks very much once again. It is going to be called the Downs Hotel. It's a bit like a Hammer House of Horror castle, isn't it? But it's going to be set up on a hill. It's going to be a Best Western Downs Hotel, named after Alan Downs, who, as most of you know, was a prolific modeler in the 70s and 80s. So there we go. Fencing. I think I've just about cleared out Buzz fencing from their chain link fencing. Now, I used a lot of this on phase one, especially around the waterboard buildings, which again is just popping up now. But really, really good fencing. I like this. I've opened one of these earlier. Just move it in front of the camera and you can see basically what it comprises of. It's just barbed wire fence. Well, barbed wire runs along the top, and then you've got the chain link underneath. Laser cut wood, which you can just paint yourself, concrete colour, quite easy to assemble. It's not too bad. So there's going to be a lot of that. Also bought some from Intencio, much the same. This is probably a little bit taller than the Buzz Models fencing. And of course, I've cleared out Steve from Railway Laser Lines of his Palisade fencing, which is a bit more modern. This will run along the main lines and probably surround the concrete factory. I need about 50 metres of this stuff. But once painted, as I said last week, it's really, really detailed and it should look really good. Fencing, I've had to, really get a lot of, because as you know, fencing runs along the side of main lines all over railways and in marshalling yards. It's absolutely prolific. So there we go. The only other thing that landed, not that interesting, but I'll show you, is a load of rattle cans of different bits and pieces. This is all from Sprayster.com, which I mentioned the other week. I buy all the, I've got no affiliation with them, but I buy all my stuff from, all my spray cans from them, simply because it's the cheapest I can find. This is frosted glass. I use this for industrial windows, and I just spray it onto the, if I'm making glazing, I just spray it to give that frosted look that you get with windows. I've also got some, I'm going to try this new matte varnish out, which I got from them. And what else have we got? We've got some aluminium, which I'm going to use for some of the fences. We've got some concrete here, which I'm going to use concrete effect, which I'm going to use for the HS3 station. And the other thing I've got, which I just wanted to show you, if I can find it, is just some gunmetal grey. It just saves the airbrush if you're doing an awful lot of painting. So at £3 or £4 for a can of this, it's actually pretty good. Was there anything else? No, I don't think so. So that's what's landed this week. So we'll have a little excerpt, a little clip every week, and I'll show you what's landed and how I'm going to put it to use. So there we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about drainage ditches, but before we do, I was just looking through the camera lens myself, and the sheer expanse of track from this angle is kind of a bit of a sight to behold, because I have been soldering droppers onto each section of track, and it takes about a full day, about 9 hours, to do the droppers on each of these sections, or each of these tracks, to be honest. And then there's the extension carts on top of that. But when the extension carts are pushed next to the main boards, you can see the sheer width of how much track we've got to deal with. And this amount of track stretches for about 15 boards, each board being 4 foot long. So there you go, a lot of track. But anyway, let's talk about drainage ditches, because this is a feature, as I said in the introduction, which is really easy to include on any model railway, be it N gauge, double O gauge, O gauge, or what have you. And a lot of these drainage ditches, as I said, were seen or still are seen in old and marshalling yards up and down the country. They're quite difficult to see because they're often overgrown and they're at the side. But at Healy Mills, because there was a river, the River Calder, that ran underneath the whole marshalling yard at one end, there was a lot of these, and this is just one or two of them which I have just been working on. Now, they're not finished because I've got to put the resin, the casting resin, in the bottom. I've just painted the bottom, as you can see, a greeny colour, and put some detritus, old bricks and a tyre, some rocks, which I'm going to paint in a kind of a stone colour, and there's an old Calagas cylinder as well. So basically, how did I do this? Well, it's really easy, and as you can see by the red marker pen, all it is a case of doing is, if you've got a baseboard and you've got some room underneath, you can simply drill down using a normal drill, get a jigsaw blade into it like the one I used there, and then just cut out a section which is all you basically need. And you can see how much I've cut out. I've made 3 here, as you can see, and one of them has just got a little tunnel at the end, which I've just cut out of plastic card, because I'm going to kind of suggest that it's the beginning of a stream or a storm drain or what have you. So once I've cut the bit out, I've then got, I'll just take you underneath and you can see, all I've done here is just get some scrap timber, screw it to the underside, get a bit of board, screw that underneath to make the bottom, and I've just done that on all 3 of these drainage ditches. And if we go back up top again, you can see then all I've done is use a hot glue gun and some plastic card to make the sides. I've used brick paper in this case, which you can get anywhere. I think I got this on eBay ages ago. It's quite good actually, because it's really textured. So if you put in textured brick paper, you can get it in all scales. Doesn't really matter, because this is going to be, I could have used the normal plastic card with the brick pattern, but it doesn't matter because this is ready coloured. It's going to be covered in green and slime and all sorts of stuff, so that's fine. This is just a ready-made culvert which I got from 10 Commandments, which is a scenery company up in Scotland. And then, as I've said before, I've just put some barrels, some bits of rock, an old tyre, etc. in the bottom. So yeah, all I did was I hot glued some plastic card, which I cut to fit around, just to make a kind of a waterproof section. The hot glue is really good for that, because when you pour casting resin in here, it doesn't leak out. So that's all I've done. I've then glued on, using hot glue again, the brick paper onto the sides of the plastic card, and basically that is it. All I'm going to do then is just cover these holes here, which I'm going to do next week, and just kind of use a bit of clay to merge it into the scenery. So once this has got the casting resin poured in the bottom, this is going to look really, really good. This obviously needs painting. We're going to have a little bit of casting resin coming out of the pipe. But again, these just lend a bit of interest, because it just suggests, well, it is another level. Because what you don't want is your railway to be, or your model railway to be, on all one level all the time. I say that, and now you're looking at vast expanses of track all on one level. So that is one of the reasons I introduced a bit of a drop there. And it's the other reason why these 4 MGR holding sidings, which are about 50 foot long, they are on a different level as well. You can just see there's a bit of a difference in level. So once that's finished, or the drainage ditches are finished, I'm going to use some fencing like this. This is from Buzz Models, chain link fencing, or I might even use this, which is from Railway Laser Lines. They're palisade fencing, and I'm going to put that around to obviously make sure that nobody falls in there and gets themselves drowned. So yeah, that is basically going to look really good. Again, it's a little feature. It doesn't take long to do, but it really does make a difference in all scales, whichever scale you model in. And these always make me smile, these massive gantry towers from railway laser lines, of which, as I said last week, I'm waiting for another 5 or 6, which is going to mean there's going to be about 12 of them on this enormous expansion track, which heads all the way down there. So there we go. Very easy to do. All you need is a jigsaw, bit of scrap wood, some fencing, a scalpel. I get these bricks. These are really useful, actually. These model bricks. I get these from military modelers. If you ever get a chance to look on military modelers' suppliers, they do all sorts of things which really lend themselves well to model railways, especially things like bricks, which you don't normally see on model railway scenery sites, but really useful. You see piles of bricks anywhere, and I've just simply dropped those in, use super glue to glue them. And as I've said before, I'm just going to soon be pouring casting resin in. In fact, you can follow me doing that, and I'll probably do that in the next week's video. So let's pick it up next week. There we go. Now, I had a few people ask in the comments if they could have a look at some of the buildings again. And this is one of the buildings which was built by Alan Downes initially a few years ago. And it's based on an old waterboard building, which was at Heaton Lodge, I think up until the early 80s. And as you can see, by the early 2000s, it was looking like this. And I'll just show you some of the details on here, because I know everybody likes to look at detail. Alan supplied me this building, and I basically completely destroyed it, as you can see. And all I've basically done here, just to make it dilapidated, is just use loads of old fiberboard and lots of puddles, using the old casting resin method, and then loads of upturned bathtubs, which you can get all these from Ten Commandments, I think .co.uk online. Doing derelict buildings is actually, or building derelict buildings is not easy, but it's really, really rewarding. And it gives you an excuse for adding things like the chain link fencing, which we've just talked about. I've got a little man there from the waterboard who's just changing the danger keep out sign there. You can also put a car up on bricks for any derelict buildings, which this is just a corgi model of a Mini, which I completely, again, destroyed with a Dremel. The glass is from the microscope slides, which we've talked about in the past to make puddles, which all I've done is break the glass. You've got to be really careful because it's so thin and it's very, very sharp. And then just use canopy glue or super glue simply to glue it into the frames of the car itself. And then just sprayed it some rust colour, rubbed it off, and what have you. So yeah, the bricks, which we've also mentioned, are holding the car up, as you can see. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that little Mini. It's been stood there now for quite some years, but it always gets quite a lot of attention, as does the leopard on the roof, which is way over scale, but it makes me smile occasionally. The chain link fencing, again by Buzz Models, and the roadway. We've talked about roads in the past. This is one area of the layout which is very, very frosty. It's meant to give you a bit of a sense of the chill. But derelict buildings, again, it's always good if you can incorporate one somewhere, because they really do attract a lot of attention. And again, although they can be a little bit different to model, all you need is loads and loads of detritus, if that's a word, old tyres, old oil drums especially, and Calagas cylinders. And that we've also got a pallet there, which is from Model Scenery Supplies. And yeah, so there we go. It's just a case of trying to make it as dirty as possible. And then I've just sprayed some theatrical snow spray over top of it, very lightly, just to mimic some frost. So there we go. That is one of the two derelict buildings, which is on Heaton Lodge Junction Phase 1. Okay, so we've touched on ballasting quite a few times in the past in these videos, but I just wanted to cover it again for 2 minutes because I am still amazed by the amount of time this little gadget from Make It Miniature that you're going to see shortly has saved me from literally sweeping the ballast off the tops of the sleepers that we all, well, most of us anyway, hate doing. But just going over the process very, very quickly for the camera, I'm using ballasting again. I'm just using this little ballast spreader by Railway Laser Lines. I like this simply because it has got the 2 brushes, which always helps. And it's not so much putting the ballast on, which is awkward. In fact, I really enjoy doing this, but it's actually getting it off, which is where the little gadget I've just mentioned comes in really handy. Now, as you can see, if we drag it across, it's half the battle. I'm just going to do this bit again quite quickly. Well, that was the right amount of ballast just before we got to the point. The points I actually do separately. So let's just connect the vacuum, which is the gadget that I'm talking about. I'll just show you again just how quickly and easy it is to get the ballast off the top of the sleepers without using the traditional paintbrush. Okay, so I've connected this up, this Make It Miniature gadget. Again, I'm only featuring this because it is just so useful to me. You need an old Coke bottle, which we've covered before. The instructions are in the pack that you get. But yeah, I'll just turn the Hoover on. Might be a bit noisy for a minute. I've just connected it up to a Henry type Hoover. And then all we're going to do is this. And just look at that. And there we go, folks. Ballast saved in the aforementioned Coke bottle. All the ballast off the sleepers. And I am just a very, very happy bunny because otherwise, as I've said earlier, just using the paintbrush to brush this off would have taken me the best part of half an hour. That took, for one length of track, almost 4 foot, probably 3 foot, about, 25 seconds, not even that. It's just an amazing bit of kit, which is why I wanted to feature it again this week, because I just think it's things like that that make our lives easier as railway modelers are just great things to have on board. So yeah, there we go. Right, we're coming to the end of this week's video, but I just wanted to say a massive thanks to everybody, because some of you might notice that this channel is now approaching 10,000 subscribers, which is, I don't know, I'm just extremely flattered that people take the time every week to watch these videos, and a lot of other people don't subscribe, but they watch them anyway. So massive thank you to all the support that I get from people watching these videos. But it's interesting, I was watching some other YouTubers who do model railways the other week, and a couple of them were talking about why people do these videos, or similar videos to what I do about their own railways, and how much the money side of things actually makes them do it. Well, I can tell you that the money side of things, I'm going to be quite open. I think last month YouTube paid me 350 odd pounds for doing these videos, which is basically a monthly thing. And yeah, don't get me wrong, it's useful, goodness me, but it's not going to make me a millionaire, that's for sure. But that's not why I do it. I'll tell you why I do it, if I'm completely honest. And it's a lot of it is probably guilt, if I'm honest, because going back to 2018, when the railway first came down into the basement, I got the keys for this place. I was working down here on my own for probably the best part of 4 years, all the way through COVID. And I really was alone then. In fact, it was a bit like solitary confinement, to be honest. It really was. But I did get quite insular, and particularly when people started to trickle down here after COVID and the lockdown finished and everything, I wasn't particularly friendly, and I was extremely guarded in all the techniques that I developed to, that I've put into phase one, and obviously now phase two that I'm sharing with you guys now. So I suppose really this is an attempt, these videos are an attempt to rectify that. And I'm hoping as well that, people will come and see, all the people that have subscribed, and even if you haven't subscribed, you'll still come and see the railway when it goes out, because the next year is going to get very, very interesting indeed. You're all going to see the railway come together. You're also going to see behind the scenes when the railway goes out, when it gets loaded onto the trucks and the trucks go to different parts of the country, and hopefully when it starts generating money, instead of me putting money into it, I will be able to hire somebody to wander around after me with a camera, seeing all the background and all the swearing and the tools flying around, because believe me, it does get really stressful. But you're going to see all that. So I'm really hoping that this channel will go from strength to strength from now on. But again, as I alluded to in the beginning, I just want to say massive thank you again to all of you that subscribe. And it does make a big difference. It's a day out of my diary a week, but I think it's well worthwhile, even if it's just for the comments that I get, which are extremely supportive in the main. So thanks again. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week. Might be a shorter video because I'm going to probably spend a couple of days up in Cumbria. But yeah, I will be back next week, and I'll see you then.